Today we're going to move on. We're going to do the exact same thing we did yesterday, but we're going to add some steps in. They're called multi-step equations, meaning you're going to have to figure out what you need to do first before you can proceed. So the only thing that we're adding today is if there's parentheses, you've got to handle them first. Yes? How do we handle parentheses? We learned this in the last chapter. What is it called? Distributive property. So the first thing you're going to look at is, are there parentheses? And if so, I'm going to do distributive property. From there, you're going to say, okay, now are there any like terms I need to combine? Then you're going to say, I need to get rid of the constant by adding or subtracting. And then last, you're going to get rid of the coefficient by multiplying or dividing. And I wrote all that for y'all. Okay? So let's look at the first example. Are there any parentheses that I need to deal with? No. So I skipped that step. Are there any like terms that I can combine? Yes. What is 8x minus 3x? So I have 5x minus 10 equals 20. Now I'm going to get rid of the constant, which is 10. How do I get rid of a minus 10? Whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. I now have 5x equals 30. Now I'm going to get rid of the coefficient by dividing. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Should you be checking your answers? So I say, is 5 times 6 minus 3 times 6 minus 10 equal to 20? And personally, I would just plug it in my calculator and say, is 8 times 6 minus 3 times 6 minus 10, is that equal to 20? The answer is yes, so I got it right. All right, let's do the next one. Are there any parentheses to deal with? No. Can I combine any like terms? Yes. What is 9x minus 1x? 8x. So I have 8x minus 7 equals 13. I'm now going to get rid of the constant, which is the minus 7. How do I get rid of a minus 7? Plus 7. So I have 8x equals 20. Now I'm going to get rid of the coefficient by dividing. And 20 divided by 8 is a decimal. So I could just simplify this fraction and do x equals, if I divide the top and bottom by 4, I would get 5/2, correct? Or I could change it to a decimal and say the answer is 2.5. They are both the same thing. So either one. And y'all do know your calculator will simplify fractions, right? You just go to alpha y equals, you would put in 20 over 8, and it will tell you that it's simplified as 5/2. So either way, I'll take either answer. All right, let's skip this one, and let's go to this one. Are there any parentheses I have to deal with? Yes, so I have to do that first by doing distributive property. What am I going to distribute here? The 2 needs to be distributed to the x, and the 2 needs to be distributed to the 6. The 7x is just going to be written first. So I have 7x plus, what is 2 times x? 2x. Plus, what is 2 times 6? 12 equals 39. Now I'm going to ask myself, are there any like terms that I can combine? Yes. I can combine 7x plus 2x, which is 9x, plus 12 equals 39. Now I'm going to get rid of the constant of 12 by subtracting. So minus 12 on both sides. And 39 minus 12 is 27. And now I'm going to get rid of the coefficient by dividing. And 27 divided by 9 is 3. Any questions so far? All right, now this next one might confuse a lot of you. So let's look at it. Are there parentheses? Now look at the parentheses. What did I tell y'all? Y'all have to do change. So the first thing you're going to do is change change. But here's the problem. Look at that 7. Correct, it is 4x minus 7, yes? But what kind of value does that 7 hold? A negative. If you don't understand that, change. So you can go like this and say, hey, that 7 actually has a negative value. So when I distribute, I am not distributing a positive 7. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to distribute the negative 7 to the x and the negative 7 to the negative 2. And these are the problems most students, if they mess up on. The minus signs confuse them. So I have 4x plus, what is negative 7 times x? Negative 7x plus, what is negative 7 times negative 2? 14. Good, equals 26. Now I can combine like terms. What is 4x plus negative 7x? Negative 3x plus 14 equals 26. Now I'm going to get rid of the constant by subtracting, so minus 14 on both sides. 26 minus 14 is 12. And now I'm going to get rid of the coefficient by dividing. So 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. Okay, I'd like for you to try this one on your own. Check your first step. Did you do the distributing correctly? So let's talk about it. I have negative 3x, which just goes out to the side. I am distributing a positive 5 to a what? Negative x. And then I'm distributing a positive 5 to a positive 3. Well, 5 times negative x, what's a positive times a negative? A negative. So that's where the negative 5x came from. And then 5 times 3 is 15. Are we okay with that? Now I'm going to combine like terms. Negative 3 plus negative 5 is negative 8. And then x plus 15 equals 17. And then I'm going to subtract 15. So I have negative 8x equals 2. And then I'm going to divide by negative 8. Am I going to keep this a fraction? Yes. I'm just going to do what to it? Simplify it. So if I divide the top and bottom by 2, then my answer is negative 1 over 4. Does it matter where the negative sign went? No. You just have to have one negative. It can go on top, it can go on bottom, or it can go out to the side, because it's giving that fraction a negative value. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can we also change it to a decimal?
If it's a terminating decimal, yes. Y'all know what terminating means, right? Like it stops. So like negative 0.25, you're good. But if it's a repeating decimal, then no, leave it as a fraction. Okay? All right, the next one. When you distribute fractions, you have a choice. You can change them to decimals if they're what? Terminating decimals. But if they're repeating, you have to leave them or it changes the value. I cannot take 1/3 and say it's 0.33. I have changed the value. It is not 0.33. It is 0.333333. You see what I'm saying? So I have to leave it. But 3/2 is really what? 1.5. That's a terminating decimal. I can absolutely change that to a decimal. Okay? So if I want to just say, hey, I'm going to multiply this one by 1.5, that's fine. But again, if it was a third, no, I cannot. All right, so I'm going to do 1.5 times 3x and 1.5 times 5. 1.5 times 3 is 4.5x plus 1.5 times 5 is 7.5. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the constant by subtracting. Negative 24 minus 7.5 is negative 31.5. Now that I would punch in my calculator. And then I'm going to divide by the coefficient, which is 4.5. So I have x equals negative 7. Oops. Okay, try the next one on your own. Did y'all change 3/4 to a decimal? Me too. Does anybody have a question before we move on? Are we good right here? Jose, you good? Questions? Okay. Moving on, we're going to skip that first one. Let's go to this one. Now, could you take negative 1/5 and change it to a decimal? Yes, but look at what you're multiplying by. The denominator is 5, right? And you're multiplying by 10 and 20. Well, both of those are divisible by 5. So personally, I'm going to keep it as a fraction because I'm good at doing fractions in my head. If you're not, change it to a decimal. But y'all know when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So you're really just doing 10 divided by 5 because it would be 10 times 1 over 5, which is 10/5. And then you're just doing 10 divided by 5, which is 2, okay? But if you need to change it to a decimal, perfectly fine. But what am I going to do first right here? Change. So I'm going to multiply negative 1/5 times 10, which I already told y'all just becomes negative 10/5, which 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I have negative 2x plus negative 1/5 times negative 20 just becomes, what's a negative times a negative? And it really just becomes 20/5. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. So plus 4 equals 40. You would have gotten the same thing multiplying by the decimal value. All right, get rid of the constant. and then divide by the coefficient. Good? Skip the next one and go to this one right here. Let's talk about decimals. Decimals, you're going to just need your calculator. Okay? Unless you want to do some crazy long multiplication, which I do not. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is distributive property, but before I do that, what am I going to do right here? Change. So I'm going to distribute the 3.6 times the 4 and the 3.6 times the negative 12. Before I do that, I'm just going to write 2.4 plus. All right, 3.6 times 4 is 14.4. So I plus 14.4 C plus 3.6 times negative 12 is negative 43.2, and that is equal to 45.6. Are there any like terms I can combine? 2.4 and plus negative 43.2. And again, I would just punch that in my calculator. 2.4 plus negative 43.2 is negative 40.8. So I have 14.4C plus negative 40.8 equals 45.6. Did it matter what order I wrote those in? No, I could have put this first, negative 40.8 plus 14.4C. It doesn't matter. Now I'm going to get rid of the constant. How do I get rid of a negative 40.8 plus 40.8? Whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So I have 14.4C equals 45.6 plus 40.8 is 86.4. I'm going to divide both sides by 14.4. And I get 6. So decimals, I feel like you just need to slow down a little bit so you don't make a mistake and use the calculator, okay? All right, let's look at the word problem. What kind of shape do you see? Did they give you the 3 sides? Yes. So this side is x plus 4. This side is 4 times x. And the picture does not represent it well at all because this looks like an isosceles triangle, which means the two sides would be what? The exact same. The picture is obviously not a representation because they're not the same. So just FYI, it's not the right picture. Okay. It says find the length of all 3 sides. One side is x plus 4, another side is 4x, and the third side is 10 times x minus 1. Now, can I find the side lengths? No, because I don't know what x is. But they did tell me what? What is P? So how do you find perimeter of anything? So if I add this plus this plus this, it has to equal, then can I solve the equation? Yes, so here we go. I have x plus 4 plus the next side, which I'm going to use 4x, plus this side, so 10 times x minus 1 has to all add up to equal 24. Isn't this what our lesson's all about today? What am I going to do first? Parentheses. So I got to, first of all, I got to change, and then I'm going to distribute the 10. So 10 goes to x and 10 goes to negative 1. I'm just going to write this stuff down before I distribute. Can I give this a coefficient? What coefficient goes to that? So I have 1x plus 4 plus 4x plus, what's 10 times x? 10x plus, what's 10 times negative 1? Negative 10 equals 24. Now before I move on, I need to combine like terms. you have questions? So I'm going to combine this x with this x with this x. Notice that when I highlighted, and guys, you don't have to highlight, you could underline or you could just see it. Notice the sign in front of it tells me whether I'm adding or subtracting, right? So I'm doing 1x plus 4x plus 10x. Well, 10 plus 4 is 14, and 14 plus 1 is, so I have 15x. Can I combine this positive 4 with this negative 10? So what is 4 plus negative 10? Negative 6. So I have 15x plus negative 6 equals 24. Now I can get rid of the constant by getting rid of the negative 6. How do I get rid of a negative 6? Plus 6. So I have 15x equals 24 plus 6 is 30. Then I'm going to get rid of the coefficient by division. And 30 divided by 15 is? Now, am I done? What did the question ask for? Did I find the side lengths or did I find x? So am I done? No. It wants the side lengths. So I've got to take x and plug it in for each side. So everybody look. This side is x plus 4. Well, what is x? 2 plus 4 is? 2 plus 4 is 6. So the first side length is 6, comma. The second side length is 4 times x. Well, 4 times 2 is 8. And the last side length is 10 times x minus 1. Well, what is x? 2. What's 2 minus 1? What's 10 times 1? So actually, this picture should have been drawn as a right triangle that looked like this, just so y'all know. And it would be 6, 8, and 10. This picture did not represent it well at all. Okay, I will pass out your assignment. Okay, you should have already put your name. All the front, you're just going to solve. Should you miss any on the front? Why? You can check your answers. Yes? Okay, flip to the back. Number 16 and number 17 are just like that example we just did on our notes. But be careful on number 17 because it's a rectangle. It is not length plus width equals perimeter. It's length plus width, right? So you have to do this plus this plus this plus this. Or you can do 2 times length plus 2 times width, whichever way works for you. I'm going to help you set up number 18. It says, wrapping a package. It takes 70 inches of ribbon to make a bow and wrap the ribbon around a box. The bow takes 32 inches of ribbon. The width of the box is 14 inches. So everybody look, they gave you that right here. What is the height? So let's talk about it. What are we really finding if we put a ribbon around a box? We're going to go 14 plus x plus 14 plus x plus the bow right on top, right? And that's going to add up to however much ribbon it takes us. What it told us it takes 70. So let's make an equation out of that. All right, so I'm going to do 14 plus x plus 14 plus x. Can we do some math in our head? What's 14 plus 14? So I've got 28 plus, what's x plus x? 2x plus the bow. Did they tell us how much bow it is? How much ribbon does the bow take? 32. And that all has to add up to equal 70. I'm probably going to do 19 and 21 as extra credit. So 19 and 21. The rest are all 4th grade. Okay? All right, you may get started.